Hello once again, Star Wars and Unboxing fans. Welcome to another episode of Darth Tuba's Star Wars Unboxing Show. I'm your host, Darth Tuba, with my shirt doing something weird here. Hold on. I'm going to just fix my mic here. Testing. That's better. Okay. So, welcome to another episode. And today I'm going to be doing some, as I mentioned on some previous episodes, I am in the process of kind of reevaluating and deciding some different things I want to do with the collection. And one of the things I'm thinking about doing is a little bit more unboxing of some older items. Now, when I first started this channel, I think we're close to like 3-4 years ago now. When I first started this channel, that's what I started with. I didn't go out and constantly buy new toys. I was taking the older toys that I collected over the years and did some unboxings, right? Well, that's what I want to kind of revisit with some things, all right? So there's a couple of items that I have that I would like to kind of put on display in a better way than what is currently here. Now, this, and again, as I've said early in my channel, if you watch the early episodes, I kind of get a little bit funny and I'm like, oh, I know there are people that are probably like screaming at their phones or their TVs or whatever they're watching, and they're saying, no, you don't unbox this, it's too expensive, you're like throwing your money away. Look, toys are toys. They're meant to be played with. They're meant to be displayed. They're meant to be moved around and positioned differently. I do not see toys, even though they are in many cases a very valuable collectible that, you know, people sell or purchase and then hold for a few years and then sell to make more money. I get that, but that's never been me. I'm a Star Wars fan, and I celebrate my fandom through collecting and displaying. Okay, so I have two items here. These are Jedi packs. These are kind of battle packs, okay? They came out in 2013, so they're not too old, about 10 years. But these are only at Toys R Us, Toys R Us exclusives. Rest in peace, Toys R Us. I know. There are Toys R Us's still around Europe and Canada, and I hope someday I can make a pilgrimage to Canada. There's one, I think the closest Toys R Us is like 13 hours away from me. That's a bit of a drive just to go to a Toys R Us. And it's also really cold in Canada. So I don't know if I'll ever get to that. At least it may be one of those things that if we ever decided to vacation to Canada, then maybe I would, try to locate their local Toys R Us and just kind of because I've seen some other people. I watch one channel, Laura Legends, whom I hope is okay. I don't, she hasn't, at the time of this recording, she has not posted a lot of content. I know she was having some health issues. I hope she's doing okay. But she always makes, she lives in Canada, so she makes, Toys R Us runs, and it's just so great to look and see, there's a whole row of Star Wars toys. I mean, it isn't as big as it used to be because they don't do mass advertising when, like a new Star Wars, well, they haven't had a new Star Wars movie for a while, so they don't do those same kind of huge media blitzes like they used to. But it's still neat to see a dedicated toy store like that, of that size, still exist. So, but these Toys R Us things that are popping up in Macy's, it's kind of sad. I mean, I appreciate, the nostalgia of Toys R Us, but it's just, it's kind of sad. It's nothing what Toys R Us used to be. So, so it is kind of sad, to take Toys R Us exclusives and unbox them. But here's the thing: these are both Battle of Geonosis Jedi Knight 4-packs. Each one contains 4. Well, this one has 3 very unusual, blink and you miss them from Attack of the Clones Jedi that show up at Geonosis, and then 1 clone, right? And these have 3 more, okay, and 1 clone. I do remember the one in the middle. I do remember Sarissa Jang making a quick appearance. I absolutely love that whole scene. To see that, I mean, I remember I was in that theater when we first saw the Jedi running, the side view of the Jedi running towards the battle droids running them, and then just kind of attacking each other. I was just floored. And yes, I realized that it was all pretty much digital, or 90% of it was digital, and some will argue it doesn't hold up, and I get that, especially if you're looking at 4K and different, the higher end things. But I absolutely adored that whole scene. Those last 40 minutes of Attack of the Clones are some of my favorite Star Wars that's ever been made, before or since. So it's a great thing. And Hasbro did come out with a Geonosis Arena playset. Each of the prequels had at least one kind of large playset, I think, I know that there was a Mustafar playset. If we go back on a previous episode, I was unboxing and putting that together, and it broke on me. But I still have the pieces that didn't break. That was a nice playset. It was a little plain, but it was okay. But then before that, they had the Geonosis Arena from episode 2. I think episode 1 was a ship. It was the Naboo Royal Starship. But it's a nice little open area that I can put some figures in. Well, what better figures to put in there than the Jedi? So we are going to do that right now. I've been going through the collection, and there's been a few things that I've decided to part with. There's been a few things that I've decided to keep in their packaging, and there's been a few things that I've decided to do what I'm doing right now and unboxing. Okay, so we've got 4 Jedi. They appear to have each including a single lightsaber. Some people were like, "Oh, did you get the figure that was, what is it, In Sync?" I forget which is the group that was rumored to be in it. It was In Sync. I think it was In Sync, but there is our. Now I am not going to remember these names. This is Kimar is Radath. Okay, so it's an alien Jedi, right? But it's got the brown robe. Now, of course, when you're doing Jedi, body sculpts are pretty much the Jedi kind of gi, so you can very easily do that. When I'm done with this, I will put them in the Geonosis Arena, and you can kind of we'll do a little pan and scan of that. All right, let's get out this next one, which is Khaat. So it's Cat Quinn or Cat Kin. Star Wars names. They're great, but I miss Luke and Han and Leia. It feels like they're getting very, very, they're trying to get more and more unusual. But I like the colors on this. It's a little bit more of a gray-green kind of thing going. So that's cool. All right. And then we have one with 2 sabers, one in each hand, and that is Selig Kenjin. Oh no, Kenjin. Selig Kenjin. Okay, so let's get them both in there. Yep, he's got the 2 going. Okay, no robe on this one. Only the tunic. So there you go. Now, of course, at this point in history, in Star Wars history, that is, the clones are our friends. They're working for the Jedi. They're all helping out the Jedi. Everybody's one big happy family, and it's so nice. And we all get along and sing Kumbaya. And it's going to be like that forever. Order 66 what? No. Sadly, we know that doesn't happen. And lately, there's been a lot of revisitation on the Order 66 point. This is clone Captain Devis. Okay, again, episode 2, simple clone armor, cat clones, and they did have a couple with the red markings before they went real crazy in episode 3 with like all sorts of variants and stuff. So that's cool. All right, and then we have our next set, and it looks as though there were only 2 sets. So yeah, these little 4 packs. Battle packs, they're pretty good price. Nice army builder. I don't know if I have price tags on here. I don't, but sometimes I do, and I shed a little tear every time I have a price tag, because I'm like, oh my god, they're so much more expensive now. Which is another thing that makes it really difficult to continue collecting, to the same level. So in some ways, I'm kind of glad that Toys R Us is not around like it used to be, because frankly, if it were, it would, and if things were going exactly the way they used to be, it might be a little bit challenging. Okay, this is Sefjet Josal. For a while there, when these clear clamshell cases that I have behind me here, I was putting a lot of the figures in there mainly, and I would always include, if I took it off a card, I would cut the name from the card and include it in there. And I still do that for the most part, or I write it on a post-it note and I just fold it in and put it in there, because there are a lot of names in Star Wars, and unless you are someone who reads every single piece of the expanded universe, plays every video game, which I do not. I read some books, I occasionally play a game, but not to the level that here's a Sefjet. Okay, but unless you're someone who's that into it and has a photographic memory, you are not going to remember all the characters, particularly ones that name was never spoken in the movies, right? In fact, I don't even know if we actually see this guy. There's a couple of those panoramic views of all the Jedi, like on top, kind of looking down, and all the Geonosis warriors kind of fly away. I always love that. Like, they're like, we're not sticking around for this. Those are Jedi, man. So, okay, next up we have Sarissa Jeng. Now this is the one I remember seeing, just because she had the unusual. Let me get her saber back here. She had the unusual hair piece. It kind of goes back really far, and I seem to remember one. Is this the one that was like, ah? Like she actually has a line, or at least a karate chop, like guttural scream when she's taken out a Jedi. I think it's this character. Interesting robe too. It's got the sleeveless robe. I thought that was kind of cool. Kind of made more sense to me. Like, why not have sleeveless robes? Why would you have the robes? The robes are just going to get in the way. All right, and the last Jedi of this group is Roan Shrine, who looks suspiciously like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like a slightly different Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that's cool, right? Doesn't he look a little bit? He's got the top knot, I think, in the back. But other than that, he kind of looks a little more like Obi-Wan. So maybe that's why he stayed in the background a lot. And then you have Clone Commander Pons. Amy Pons? Doctor Who reference? Anybody? Anyone? All right, and he's got the. Oh yeah, this guy's got the. He's got the gun. See if I can get this on here. He's got the macro binoculars. I think he's the one that's like, all forward teams are advancing. Ready my ship. So that's cool. Now again, technically, I think this guy, if it's the guy with the binoculars, I think he was actually far away from Geonosis. He was more in the. Actually, when you think about it, the Geonosins, they weren't really in the Geonosis. I'm sorry, the clone troopers were not really in the Geonosis arena. So this doesn't kind of make full sense. I mean, they landed, but they really were just there to do a rescue of the Jedi, right, and grab everybody, and then they kind of went to another location, and that's when all the battle droids kind of went after them. So it really wasn't in the Geonosis arena. So I'm a little bit telling fan stories here, but that is that. All right, so those are the figures. 8 figures. A pretty decent bang for your buck back in the day. I do not know. One thing you can do to a young collectors, if you think, oh, this is really cool, it's Battle of Geonosis Jedi Knights. Okay, Toys R Us exclusive. If you do that in a search in eBay, you might see a couple of them listed. Before you do that, though, make sure you go to your advanced filters in eBay and click on. It's a really, really helpful tool. Whenever you're looking for something and you want to know what is a good price, people always I see that on Facebook groups a lot. People put up, especially a lot of the 90s and 2000s stuff going up for sale now. People are trying to sell off their collections or parts of their collection like I do. They actually put out there and they say, oh, how much is this worth? Well, to quote Steve Sansweet, Star Wars collector guru, a collectible is only worth what you're willing to pay for it, or is worth as much as you're willing to pay for it, which means that someone might pay $100,000 for a toy that maybe another person might have only paid $5,000 for. So it just comes down to personal preference. But what you can do is go onto eBay and go to the advanced filter and switch it up to the sold listings. And then you can see sold listings and how much people were paying for them. Now, sometimes they list the price that was listed and it's crossed out, which means that they probably made an offer that was less than that, so you don't really know what that offer. I guess that's just between. I mean, maybe you can dig deeper for that. But a lot of times you can see exactly what it sold for, and then you get an idea of what you might want to try, what you might expect to pay for that. Although that then tends to be much more for newer figures, for newer releases, for exclusives that just came out, like San Diego Comic-Con, things like that, just because you see what the value is now and it changes over the years. But anyway, so why don't we put these guys in our Geonosis arena? Let me say that again. Geonosis arena, and we'll see how they look. Okay, and here we are. As you can see, I'll kind of pull out a little bit. You can see the Geonosis Arena, okay, and it comes with this little cardboard kind of opening in the front, which can be moved in different places. It's got a little entrance here. It's got the big gate where the reek comes in. Okay, I didn't have enough room to put the reek, and then I have the kind of the cat-like one, and then there's the Ackley, which is that big octopusy pussy kind of thing. Thinking of like the James Bond movie. Anyway, so you can see here, I've added a couple. We had Plo Koon was here already, and then this dude. But and that was it. I think all the other Jedi are the ones that I added in. And then I put the clones on the outside, kind of showing like, okay, all forward or advancing or whatever it is, right? You know, the funny thing I'm thinking about, though, is that I just realized I got to get some battle droids in here. I mean, I got battle droid pieces that are part of the set. You know, they're like pieces that are like molded in there. But no, I don't have any actual things. There's some playset features here, but I just use it for display. Up here is actually where Dooku and Jango and the Neimoidians are supposed to be, but I put one of the Jedi up here just to kind of keep it on display. But I like it. It's nice. By the way, used from other figure releases, they had these stands. This one, of course, says Revenge of the Sith on it. It's upside down. But these are, in my opinion, the greatest way to universally cover, or almost all different ranges of newer figures, being able to use them to stand on. The only one that didn't have it, was able to do it, was this guy here, the Obi-Wan wannabe. For whatever reason, the holes in his feet are just very, very not very deep. So, but other than that, everything else worked. So yeah, nice little way to add a little display feature. I love that. And they didn't make a lot of these larger play sets. So this, in fact, in the new era, this is one of the only big play sets that they kind of made, like larger ones. Even the Mustafar set isn't that big, and even if it were, it doesn't have a lot. In fact, what I think would be really cool is to get another one of these and put it on the other side, like mirror them, and then you have a huge space. But this is good for our purposes. So that'll do it. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, hit the notification, do all that other stuff. Check me out on Instagram and X. Also, check out all the other content on Red 5 Network. Some great Star Wars and other content. Thank you, Red 5, for sponsoring our channel. Until next time, folks, may the Force and the toys be with you.